Welcome back, everyone. Again, my name is Emily Cabbage, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at NAFA. And we are very excited to have another great group here for our second session of the NAFA's Future Leader Program. Today with us, we have Evelyn Gellar, who is one of NAFA's Board of Trustees, and she is based out of Long Island, and she works with New York Life. And so, Evelyn, let me turn it over to you. Now, if you weren't able to join us live last time and you're joining us live this time, please feel free to use the chat feature. Ask any questions throughout the session. We'll save them all to the end and get those to you. Also, if you want to unmute, you can just simply raise your hand at the end and we can take questions from you live on video. So Evelyn, without further ado, it's over to you.
Well, thank you, Emily, and good afternoon to everyone who's joining us today. This is the second of a 4-part series. I think Delvin did a fabulous job last week covering the industry and giving you a really good perspective of the industry and the different practice models. My presentation today is going to be focused more on helping you, if you decide that this is the industry that you want to pursue, finding the right fit for you. And that's a collaborative process between you and the individual who's interviewing you or perhaps even recruiting you into the industry. So my presentation is going to be focused on that. As Emily mentioned, my name is Evelyn Gellar. I'm a partner with New York Life. For those of you who know the geography of Long Island, I'm in the Melville area, which is the western part of Suffolk County. And most recently, we've gotten a lot of snow here in the New York area, and it's bitter cold. So hopefully where you're coming from is got better weather here for you. So let's talk about sort of the agenda for this afternoon. I'm going to start out and talk a little bit about my career trajectory. I find that oftentimes when a candidate is looking at this career, they want to hear individuals' personal stories, how they came into the industry, the trajectory of their career, what they really thought about the career, and where they see themselves in the future. So I'm going to speak a little bit to that. But I'm also going to touch on some of the benefits and why I made that pivot into the financial services industry. And as you're discovering the industry and the career that you want to go after, what are the benefits of the different industries and what's the right fit for you? I'm also going to touch upon and spend some time really on what you will need to succeed in this industry once you've made that decision, what things to look for, because I think that it's really important that as you start to explore the opportunity, that you understand what your strengths and what your opportunities are, and what firm could obviously support you in that venture to help you succeed, and then ultimately the right fit. So let's go ahead and get started a little bit here. Now, I will tell you that I started out, my first bullet said I was the most unlikely candidate for this career, and there were reasons for that. And I want to mention it because perhaps you're sitting there and saying, I'm not sure about this career for several reasons, but for me, there were pretty distinct reasons why I felt that I was the most unlikely candidate. First reason was my background and my degree, my college degree, were not necessarily in finance. I was actually a psychology major and a sociology minor. So I never had taken a course. In fact, if I'm perfectly honest, I signed up for an economics, a macroeconomics course taught by the football coach. He was really tough and told us up front that about 60% of the people in the class were going to fail. And I said, I'm out of here. I didn't take that course at all. So I didn't even take an economics course. So that was the first indication to me at the beginning when I was exploring this, that, hey, perhaps this is not going to be the right fit because I don't have the finance background. Second reason was I didn't have any sales experience either. I had been in customer service in corporate life, working really for 2 medium-sized companies. And I felt that, sales was, not necessarily customer service. And I really didn't have anyone in my network that had been in sales, had been entrepreneurial. So I felt that perhaps that was another reason why I shouldn't explore this career. And then I think the third reason was I felt that I was a little bit on the timid side. And some of that had to do with culturally how I was raised to only speak when I was spoken. But once I discovered my voice, I found that I wasn't necessarily timid. It was just that that was ingrained in me. I had a great conversation with a financial service representative. He had been in the industry for many, many years, had achieved a lot of success, and he was looking for his exit strategy. He had a sizable book of business, had a lot of clients who counted on him, and he was looking at retirement in the next 3 to 5 years, but hadn't really built a succession plan. So he and I had coffee. We discussed, the career, the benefits of it. And at that coffee conversation, that's exactly when I said to him, I have no sales experience. I don't have a finance background. And I think I'm a little timid as well. And one of the things that he reassured me was that A, he was going to spend time mentoring me. B, the company had a solid training program. And C, he felt that what I brought to the table were the relationships that I was able to build. I was a great door opener. I built relationships. People trusted me. And that's exactly what he was looking for, an individual that had the ability to build relationships that he can introduce his existing clients to, and that could continue his legacy. So I started as a financial service representative. Truly enjoyed it from day one. I was learning something that I had not learned before. B, I was implementing it for individuals. I was helping individuals, families, and small businesses really protect and accumulate towards what was most important to them. I felt I was making that impact. So I started out my career in sales with no sales experience in an area that I was inexperienced, but because of the training and the development and the mentoring that I was receiving, I really accelerated at that role. I spent a few years in sales and then got tapped on the shoulder to really help other new agents really learn the business and be successful at it. So the local regional vice president in the Queens area, once again, if you're familiar with the New York area, tapped me on the shoulder. Our regional training director was retiring and again, moving to Florida. And they felt that I had the ability to transfer those skill sets. Never thinking that A, I would be in sales, and B, then I would be training on sales, on insurance and financial services products as well. We had a great run a couple of years. We were, region of the year. And then I decided that, I'd been doing a lot of traveling because our career success school was not in the Queens area. It was actually at the corporate headquarters in Bridgewater, New Jersey. And I really wanted to spend more time at home. I was thinking about starting a family and really wanted to be more local. So I went to my regional vice president and had that conversation with him. And he says, well, coincidentally, Evelyn, someone would like to step into your role at this point, and there's an opportunity for you to be part of a team of managers to attract, develop, and recruit newbies into the business. So off I went. I was part of an organization that had 4 other managers. I learned a lot from that experience. I made a transition from a very large company to a much smaller organization, but in the same role, doing that at an office in the New York City area. At some point, the company decided that they wanted to form a team of women to launch a company inside of the corporation. So you'll notice that my fourth bullet here says entrepreneur. That's not a typo. We were entrepreneurs inside of a corporation launching a separate company, and that's known as entrepreneurship. And I was the AVP of market development, looking for strategic relationships that we can formulate with other companies to launch our content platform that was geared towards education and information for women to make financial decisions. And we had a really great time learning the startup philosophy of build, measure, and learn, and launched a content platform that really attracted a lot of women to our platform. A few years ago, I decided that I wanted to go back into the field leadership. And I found a local office right here in Long Island in Melville. Very successful office, by the way. They have over 700 advisor agents, all very, very successful. And we're looking to grow that organization. And they were looking for a partner who can help in the Latino market. I happen to have great relationships with several of the individuals that are leaders there and managers. So by way of introduction, I was able to get a meeting with the managing partner and joined the team right before COVID. Talk about timing here, right? So I joined late 2019, and then the following year, a couple of months later, we were all working remotely. So that's a little bit of my career trajectory, and I wanted to kind of share that a little bit with you because I want to give you a sense of the opportunities that could be available to you. The entry point for most of these positions are always that you are a successful financial services representative, financial professional, successful financial advisor, but it can lead you to so many different ways. But in addition to my career, I've always known this about myself, is that I am all in when I decide on something. So not only from a career perspective has my career really taken off over many, many years, but I also believe in giving back to the industry that's been so good to me. So I've been involved from an industry perspective as well. 2016, I was president to an organization, Women in Insurance and Financial Services. Great organization. They've been around 87 years at this point. When I was president, there were 1,200 female members and male members, by the way, who advocate for women as well. We had 22 chapters across the country. And it's just a great community, a great association, and a great community of women and men that come together to support one another. There's mentorship in the organization. There are study groups. There's professional development. There are webinars. There's a lot of great content being a member of WIFS. And then, of course, being involved with NAIFA very early on in my career, I knew that they were my professional organization for advocacy, representing the industry up on Capitol Hill. So I became a member very early on in my career. And the last few years, NAIFA has asked me to enhance my role and be a trustee at NAIFA. Very exciting time to be a trustee at NAIFA. And I'm very, very happy that I'm participating in that. So let's talk a little bit about that transition, that initial transition when I went from working in a traditional role, working for medium-sized companies, and decided to step away from that and then come into this particular industry. These are some of the things that really attracted me into this. Number one, having the flexibility and having the independence to be able to build a practice on my own terms, the way I wanted to build that term, working in the markets that I wanted to work in as well. Flexibility started to become something that was critical for me. I was a young mom at that point. I wanted to be closer to home. I also wanted to have the ability to participate in any of my kids' events, for any parents that might be, out there, the importance of being involved and seeing these like major things that occur in your kids' lives. And they could be minor things. It could be, being the soccer mom and being able to see your children really grow and develop on the field. So for me, having that flexibility was important. I felt, in a traditional role, oftentimes if I had to leave, maybe it was a doctor's appointment or maybe my little one was sick, I felt a little uneasy about having to ask to leave the office. So I wanted that flexibility. I wanted to control my own time. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm truly independent. And the flexibility part of this was extremely important to me. Career life blend, by the way. I often tell new agents that the beauty about this career is that your day doesn't have to be linear, right? For me, sometimes it meant I went into the office a little bit early. I left around 2:30 to be able to pick them up and get them off the bus, bring them home, do homework together. And then once my husband came home from work, be able to step away from that, go back to the office, or maybe have some client meetings. So for me, it's not a balance, because I always feel that a balance means that you're giving one thing for the other, but it's really being able to blend your career and what's most important to you at home and being successful at both. I want to be successful professionally, but I also wanted to be a present mom and be a part of their lives as well. So I mastered the art of that career life blend. So that was the second thing that really attracted me into this business. Third thing was the upside income potential. Certainly throughout my career, if I had the ability to not only be promoted, but also to succeed in those roles. And what that means is having the ability to have your income grow incrementally. The next bullet is about recognition and opportunity. Well, from my career trajectory, you can see there were opportunities along the way for me to take on new roles, new projects, more responsibility. But if you're competitive at all, like I am, I love the recognition, love to see my name on the board, love to qualify for a company recognition, and that could be a trip where other successful people that are in my role are also being recognized. And again, it all ties into building that community around you. From those recognition trips, I've had so much opportunity to get involved in study groups, in masterminds with other individuals who are striving for the same goals that I am, and that's across the country. And then ultimately, making an impact. There aren't so many careers where you truly can make an impact on your local community. For me, growing up in the city, because I originally was not born and raised in Long Island, I saw the need for education and providing information in some of the underserved markets. I saw communities of people where they were hardworking, but perhaps didn't have access to information. We have a saying in my office that if you ask any either advisor, agent, or manager who's part of the team, they'll always say, yeah, we know. We want to give everyone in America an opportunity to reach financial security. That is our goal as an organization. So making an impact is something that's so critical for us. And it's something that we just don't talk about, but we actually live it as well. So let's talk about identifying your career needs. Let's assume that insurance, financial services, investment advisor is attracted to you, okay? You feel a calling to that. Well, as you start to explore the different organizations that may either reach out to you or you may reach out to them, you're going to discover that you might have some training needs. For me, that was the number one priority. That the organization that I connect with have a solid training program that's built into the organization. At New York Life, in my particular office, we have 6 full-time trainers who are delivering training to our newbies every single day. But in addition to having classroom training, they also have access to an online platform that gives them access to information ahead of perhaps what's on the training calendar. So we both have the live training, we deliver online platform. And then the other thing I will say about training is that training is just not classroom. Training is not what you just read about, but your training is also about development that happens out in the field. So one of the things that you also want to be aware of and be cognizant of is there's training, but what about the development? Will someone work with me in the field? Are there specialists? If you have an advanced case, we have an advanced planning group, and you can call upon them to help you in case development, in the approach and closing a case as well. So support is just as important, and the development is just as important as what you're learning in the classroom. For me, another key thing was mentorship, right? Did the organization offer mentorship? Well, when I came into the organization, I already had a built-in mentor. It was the individual who brought me into the business. But if you don't have that, then ask about mentorship. And if there is not a mentorship program within the organization, where else can you leverage for mentorship? For me, I've been able to mentor a number of women through WIFS who don't have mentorship at their firms. As you approach the business, are you looking to be a general practitioner, or are you looking for specialization? One of the firms that I was affiliated with had a team of people that were working just in the medical profession. They had a passion for it, to be working with doctors specifically in the doctor market. So they specialized on the needs of doctors. When they were looking to recruit someone to the team, that individual knew that their specialization, again, was going to be working with the doctor market. Some people start out as general practitioners and then eventually pivot over to specialization. For me, when I came into the industry, I was a general practitioner, and then eventually started to work specifically with the financial needs of women. Does the company that you're speaking to have a program to help you get professional designations? I have a number of designations. You saw it on my first slide: retirement income certified professional. I have my LUTCF. I have my CLTC designations. Does your company that you're vetting offer you the ability to get those designations? Have them on your business cards, have them on your stationery. And is there a tuition reimbursement program? At New York Life, we have an arrangement with the American College in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. So a new agent gets plugged into our training program and gets plugged into a practice model in a specialization. You can do general practitioner and have the title of financial guidance, and there are courses towards that, or you can go into the specializations as well. Will they help you with your marketing plan? One of the initial things that we do with a prospective candidate is to sit down and really figure out, do you have a network of individuals that fit into a market? And do we have the resources and the support to be able to support that particular marketplace? We leverage a lot of social media. There's plenty of content. You have content that's very broad, and then you have content that is also very specific that can help you support you in your market as well. When you're analyzing what markets you're going into, make sure that that firm can support your market with the product offerings that they have. That's a key thing to be able to have. And then having a proven process that you can plug and play as opposed to figuring it out, especially at the beginning of your career. It's extremely important that you have a process that you can master and plug in and be able to work with your clients. So that can be things like, is there a CRM where I can manage and have client management system that will help me in building my business? Is there an approach software Are there calculators that I can leverage? So you want to be asking about these things as you start to explore this particular career. Are those resources going to be there for you? Okay, so now that you have made sort of a checklist for yourself of things that you're going to need, now you're out there and you're exploring the different companies and opportunities that there are. Do your homework, understand the financials of the company that you're approaching. What is their philosophy within the organization? How do they see themselves in the future? What's the vision of the organization? But more importantly, once you have that solid information, then the local firm that you're affiliating yourself with, you know, what's their local philosophy? What's the culture like? Can you identify, you know, with the local firm? Will you have the ability to have peer-to-peer sharing or mentorship or be involved in study groups? What's their training program look like? Can they point to it? Do they have a curriculum, if you will? Oftentimes when we're meeting with candidates for the first time, we spend a good amount of time talking about not only the company, but also the local firm. Now, during the interviewing process, we're being very subjective, right? To see if there's a fit between the candidate and us. But we also utilize a little bit of science to identify whether or not there is the right fit that's there. And we do that through a scientific methodology. Most companies do it, some form of either personality profile or an assessment, if you will. For us, we're looking to identify whether the candidate has the ingredients that we're looking for. Are they entrepreneurial? Are they decisive? Can they be authentic at the same time while being in front of clients? We're looking to gauge those areas and then also see what the areas of opportunities might be like. Once they've met with a partner like myself and they've completed the assessment and done well, we have them meet with our managing partner. It's part of a recruiting process. And that's another thing that you want to be on the lookout for is, are you having conversations with companies that have a process where they're selecting the right candidates and making sure that you're going to be the right fit for them as well. Our managing partner goes through a session where he goes through the day in the life of an advisor in our organization, what that looks like, what training is all about. He spends some time going through some real life events and the types of conversations that our advisors have with clients. He does several role plays that most of our candidates walk away saying, oh my God, I learned so much through that process, because we want you to get a real sense of what the career is going to be like. So once you've got an overview of the company and the firm, you've completed the assessment, you have an understanding of what the day-to-day looks like for an advisor agent, then it's time to really hone in on you and creating a marketing and a business plan that's customized to you. There is no cookie cutter here. We really want to identify what affinities, and I think that Delvin talked a little bit about affinities at his last session, but where your affinities are and where it makes sense for you to be working. For me, initially, I was working with educators, because both of my parents worked for the school system for many, many years. And that was one of my networks that I worked in. So we'll help you to identify where you've got those networks and where maybe you can get a little lift. Once we've completed all of this and we're both committed to moving forward, then it's about getting your licenses. Again, each firm treats it a little bit different. You need to ask the questions. We provide you with the licensing material. It's all done on self-study. It requires a time commitment. I tell everyone, if you cannot commit 2 to 3 hours a day, don't even get started, because the goal is to get your license in a couple of weeks. And then certainly the last piece that you always want to get a feel for is, what does upward mobility look like in the firm? You know, early on in my career, I had conversations with many individuals where I wanted to go, the things that I really, truly enjoyed. Some were realized and others looked a little bit differently. But if you're looking for that upward mobility and understand that the entry point is being a successful advisor, agent, financial planner, and there are many people that stay in that role for many years, by the way. Why? Because they enjoy the flexibility, the independence, all that stuff that I spoke about before. But for others, they're looking for more, like I was looking for more between the training and developing my own team and launching, a fintech company as well. Always looking to learn more and be involved in more projects. So you always want to know what the upward mobility looks like. You have to do a self-assessment though, too. You have to be sort of honest with yourself. Are you the type of individual that likes a schedule? Someone who says report at 8, leave at 6. Are you someone who wants clear direction? Are you the type of individual that, is not really self-disciplined, right? And you're happy just working, on a project or as part of a team, then perhaps this is not the right career. However, what I find is those individuals like myself who had a passion for helping others, for making a difference. I had goals in mind, and the firms that I was working for were not going to get me to the goals. I knew that. I was realistic about that. So I had to look at the flip side of this, right? Being self-disciplined is extremely important because once again, that independence, that freedom is a double-edged sword, by the way, right? You can have the freedom, but then not do the things that are necessary to be successful. So I think that the flexibility and the freedom is good, but you also have to have the discipline that we're looking for. You have to have that grit and understanding that not everyone is going to be ready today to work with you. Build a relationship. They are what I call no for nows. And then pursue new individuals that perhaps are ready today. Life is about timing, and sometimes the timing is not there right now. But understand that the majority of individuals today have unbelievable needs for what we do in our business. And there are not enough people to serve the communities that need the most help. So there is definitely opportunity that's out there. So Emily, with that being said, I think we're right at a little bit past 5 o'clock. I know this program generally runs about 30 minutes, but I would entertain a couple of questions if we have any in the chat room.
Yes, so please feel free if you've got questions for Evelyn to put them into the chat or raise your hand and I can unmute you. You can ask it out loud. Either way is fine with me. One thing that while you guys are typing your questions, Evelyn, I was very, one thing that you said that really struck me was that you said that you felt like you were timid. And I know Evelyn pretty well. And so to hear Evelyn say that was like, wow, when she got into this industry, that's what she felt about her, herself. And that was just very eye-opening to me because I don't know you to be a timid person at all. And, and so it's kind of like looking at how you have matured within the profession to, obviously I didn't know you back then, but you yourself felt that you were timid. And then now to know you as the woman that you are today is completely different.
So Emily, let me respond to that a little bit because I think it's really, really critical to understand that I had a coach who once said to me, and I'm sure some people here have even heard this, by the way, is get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? That's where the real growth occurs. So for me, as I entered into this industry, one of the things I never lacked was courage, right? And that courage took me to understand that getting comfortable with being uncomfortable really meant that I was growing. So you're absolutely right. I mean, we're talking many, many years now. But my point in talking about this is that anyone who's actually looking to grow, not only professionally, but personally, if they can get a great coach, a great mentor, a great recruiter to work with them, not only will they succeed in business, but they'll also succeed in other areas of life.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. So one question that came through, and I know you can't speak to all companies, but what does kind of the training period, salary look like? What can somebody who's getting started in the industry kind of expect during that pay period, and commission versus salary and that sort of thing?
So I've always been affiliated with career agency systems. Okay. And throughout my career, I've been affiliated with three separate companies, two large and one small size company. Okay. And what I've noticed from a training perspective is that you're always learning. I've been in the industry north of 25 years. I stopped counting after 25, Emily, right? Is that we never stop learning. And there's reasons for that. Okay. There's product evolution, there's changes in the laws, right? And how that impacts clients. There's different processes that over the last few years we've had to kind of adapt to as well. So training and learning never stops in this business, by the way. If you ever stop learning, by the way, you're actually going backwards. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, having said that, the intensity of your learning occurs in the first year for sure. Okay, it's where most of the coursework is brand new to you. You probably have to repeat it a couple of times to really get, the concepts. It's where you're getting multiple licenses, and every time you get a brand new license, it means there's new products for you to learn. But it's not just about learning the product, but how it is that you can implement that into someone's financial plan to help them achieve their goal. Right? So you're always learning. The intensity of learning really occurs at the very beginning. Companies will create training allowance programs around compensation differently. Okay. But at the end of the day, in New York, you're limited to paying X amount, no matter how you model it out, by the way. So some companies will crunch the numbers and pay it to you in the first year. Some companies like New York Life will pay it over to you in a couple of years, right? So you've got to kind of compare and contrast and see what works for you.
Mhm. Good. So what are some tips as a young college student going into an interview with a company? What kinds of experience do you want to see that they've had, internships or, other opportunities, maybe clubs, activities, what are you looking at for a candidate?
So what I'll do is I'll share what my ideal candidate looks like. Okay. So first of all, this is a business. You're starting, running a business. So I'm looking for someone who has an affinity to that, who wants to run a business, who doesn't want a boss, doesn't want to schedule, all that other stuff that we talked about, right? We look for people who have an affinity to make a difference in people's lives, help other individuals, right? Because that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. I also want to see that there are individuals that, have the ability to network, to have conversations with people, right? I'm not talking about salesy, but I'm talking about having the ability to start a conversation, build a relationship, things of that nature. That they're coachable. You've got to be open-minded to being coachable, by the way, right? Because you're going to learn a lot in the training, but how you apply that in the real life, okay, may take a little different form. And also you want to be comfortable with it, right? I could have an approach, Emily, that's different than yours, right? Or different than Delvin's, if you will. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just a style mechanism, but you've got to have the basic bones, and that requires you to be open-minded and to be coachable. Also that you're competitive, that you want to win. And there are things in your life that you want to strive for. I came from very humble beginnings, from the New York City area, and through education and maybe some good luck, I was able to discover this career. that has given me, myself, my family, the ability to enjoy a really good life and do good for others.
Awesome. No, that's very helpful. Any other questions? I think I've gotten all the ones that popped up. Give another call for questions here for a second, but
No problem.
while you're
Emily, in the meantime, I did put up my email and my cell phone number if anyone, feels like they want to ask a question on the sideline. I'm open to that. Like I mentioned before, I've mentored many individuals in the business, continue to do that. I'm all about giving back. So if you're inclined to reach out, I'll take your call. I'll take an email that perhaps you send to me as well.
Yes, and Evelyn is a fantastic mentor. Definitely, I would highly recommend. But the other thing that I wanted to say to everyone before we jumped off our call for this week is that next week, so we're kind of building up, you can see, kind of Delvin broke down the industry and the different options. Evelyn kind of broke down, finding your best fit, where do you go in the industry? And then our next session is actually going to be a panel discussion with 4 different individuals within the financial services industry. And they all have a very different story and very different background to, whether they're captive or independent or their home office. And so really to hear one-on-one from them. And one of the things that I'm going to challenge you guys to do when I send out the recording from this session is there's an opportunity for you to submit your questions in advance. So like I said, it's going to be a live panel discussion with 4 advisors. Yeah, they're all young advisors, within 10 years, 10 to 15 years of being in the business, but it's a great opportunity. There'll also be a question and answer at the end, but if we can get them some of the questions ahead of time, that would be great. And it looks like we got another one that popped up. Why New York Life if I'm interested in working for an insurance company?
176 years, rich history, AAA rated. We've got a charitable arm, by the way. Not only are we a great corporate citizen with financial strength behind us, but we also believe in giving back to community. In fact, last year, New York Life gave over $67 million away in charity, and they do this year over year. I always say, who can give that kind of wealth away? A strong company like New York Life that, not only is delivering its promises to its consumers, but also is cognizant of the fact that we need to give back when it's needed.
Absolutely. Do you have any advice for an interview?
What I would say is do your homework, look and be sharp, identify where your strengths are, highlight that with your recruiter, and then just let the process take its toll, right? Go through the process. There's a reason why there might be multiple interviews, there's candidate assessments, maybe even ask for an opportunity to speak to another new young advisor who's a rock star, right? And how they were able to reach success.
No, that's very helpful. And definitely be prepared, do your homework. And this is just me from interviewing people the last week. Know the company that you're going into. And know what they stand for, because as we've talked in these last 2 sessions, there's so many different types of careers within this industry. And so, if you're going to New York Life versus going to say State Farm, those are not apples to apples. And so, you need to understand a little bit about the company, about the culture, their goals, their visions, their missions. That was my, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's my personal tip for interviewing.
That when I came into the industry, the internet, wasn't as powerful as it is now. So Google it.
Use it. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. It's a tool that you can use.
you
So.
bet.
Okay, well, Evelyn, thank you so much. Again, just fantastic information, very helpful to everyone to just, again, try and find their right fit for the industry, to find success. And, there's lots of different options out there. Doesn't have to be one thing or the other. So I think that was some great tips and some great professional development coaching tips as well.
Thank you again, Emily, for the opportunity, and good luck to everyone here.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.